So Bharata returns, pays respect. Now he has taken the padukas, the wooden sandals of his older brother, placing it on his head in reverence, because these padukas are going to rule. He'll receive his inspiration from those sandals, and with that powerful sentiment towards his older brother, he leaves Sri Rama and he is on his journey back. And it is said here, Nivartaya Masa Tataha Bharatam. Thus Bharata returned from here, and so not receiving his desire fulfilled, but accepting Rama Padau Upasprishan, taking Sri Rama's padukas, Nandi Grame Akarod Rajyam. So in the outside the city of Ayodhya, in the outskirts of Ayodhya, he ruled the kingdom. How did he rule the kingdom? Well, he placed this umbrella, that Raja Chhatram, the cover of the Raja, of the king, he placed over the umbrella, and his sentiments was, these are the feet of my brother. And receiving inspiration from the feet of my brother, and in that spirit he ruled the kingdom. And it is said, my teacher, my guru, Puja Swami Dayananji used to say that we always talk about Rama Rajyam in our country. To be Rama Rajyam when Sri Rama returned to Ayodhya after exile. And my guru used to say, maybe that was Rama Rajyam. But he said to me, I remember hearing this from him, for us, we should understand, Rama Rajyam was a Rajyam that Bharata showed in those 14 years. The way he ruled that kingdom with impeccable dedication to dharma, to his brother, with selflessness, with efficiency, and at the end when his brother returns, Bharata tells him, when I took over, this is how much the granary was, this is how much the treasury was, and look, this treasury has become 100-fold, this granary has become 1,000-fold. Thus he showed prosperity. And my guru used to say that was Rama Rajyam, because it was backed by that rulership, the governance of the nation was backed by pure selflessness. It was a ruler who was totally selfless, ascetic mind, he didn't care for comforts. That rulership was Rama Rajyam, he used to say. And it makes sense, no? And so that is how Bharata becomes a great icon in our culture, like Sri Rama. In fact, there are people who argue, who was a superior brother? Was Lakshmana superior or was Bharata superior? Well, that is for you to decide. Don't ask me such questions. I don't like to compare. I like to include both in my life. I don't like to compare and push out one and keep one. That's not my style, and therefore I want everybody and holding everybody. That's my ethic. And so you figure that out. And so here Nandi Grame Akarod Rajyam Rama Gamana Kankshaya. Remember, Bharata has declared to Sri Rama, 14 years till the last day I will rule this kingdom. If by sunset you do not return, O Rama, then I declare today that I will self-immolate. I have no reason to continue if you do not keep up your promise and come back. And thus Rama Gamana Akankshaya. So with a hope of his brother's return, he accepted to rule the kingdom. And at this point, as he was leaving, as I mentioned in the last class, Sri Rama blesses him, holds him, hugs him, says goodbye to everyone, and as they are leaving, he calls Bharata, stops him and tells him, please look after our mother Kaikeyi. Don't neglect her. Don't sideline her. Don't ostracize her. Look after her till I return. And thus, with these few words of tenderness, sensitivity, Bharata comes back to Nandigrama. And his return, he pays his respects to Bharadwaja, updates him on what has happened, why Sri Rama is not back. This great sage who had guided him, permitted him to proceed, he gives him the updates, then crosses Yamuna, crosses Ganga, and leaves Shringaverapura, and after that sees Ayodhya. Ayodhya is in a very gloomy state. And so there is nothing there, and he expresses to Sumantra, his brother, look, what is it? Our karma that we are entering into this gloomy city. What? Ayodhya was such a powerful, vibrant, prosperous, happy country, and look where we have to come in. And thus, with the consent of sage Vashishta, accompanied by Shatrughna, Bharata leaves for Nandigrama, installing the padukas, the sandals, and putting this umbrella, declaring who is the ruler. The ruler is them, the feet of my brother. They rule, I don't rule. And thus Bharata, putting this on the royal seat and himself sitting down and putting on robes of an ascetic and the jata, living on fruits and roots, Bharata ruled for 14 years, receiving instructions from the Padukas. Think of it, you try to visualize this scene, it is simply so heart-rendering and transforming. And then it is said that once Gate tu Bharate, when Bharata left, Sri Rama lost interest in Chitrakuta. He didn't find any reason to be there. The sages began to come to him that there is a lot of disturbance here. Think of it, the sages used to go to the forest for tapas, penance, rituals, and to which places which were infested with negative energies, with frightful energies, and they had to live in those places and do their ascetic lives. But sometimes those negative rakshasas, demonic evil forces used to get unbearable. And so the sages tell Sri Rama, let us move Khara, this great Rakshasa. He is a very powerful Rakshasa. He is a brother of Ravana. He has begun to hound us in this area. Let us all move away from here. And so Sri Rama leaves that hill, Chitrakuta mountain. He leaves with the sages and comes to a wonderful cluster of hermitages and headed by sage Atri and Anusuya Devi. These were two ascetics. Remember, in those days, we have rishis, sages who were married sages, and there were sages who were not married. There were both types of sages. And so we have Rishi and Rishi Patni, who were also ascetics in nature. And so here we have Atri and Anusuya, and Anusuya has a beautiful dialogue with Sita Devi, and who tells her, Anusuya tells Sita, she's such a wise ascetic woman, She teaches her the duties of a devoted wife. She admires Sita Devi for what she has been, but tells her to ask her a boon for the fearless decision she made to follow her husband into the forest. She wants her to ask for a boon. Well, Sita Devi has no boon to ask. She feels her life is complete with her husband, and Anusuya tells her to tell the story of the marriage, which Sita Devi tells, and then Anusuya tells her, you are here as a king's wife, you are his queen. You will always be his queen, whether you are on the throne or in the forest, and therefore be dressed always in your royal robes. You don't need this ascetic robes. And so she gives her beautiful ornaments and flowers to adorn on her body, and thus receiving these gifts, Sita Devi changes into those robes, and then they spend the night there, and next day they keep moving to deeper and deeper forests.